Hello, everyone. I'm Allison Davis. I'm a member of Life Community. Just to let you know that I'm sure some of you know, you've been listening to the news, my significant other and his family's house burned down on Christmas Eve. And they were all they're elderly, two elderly parents, 88 and 83, and the brother is Vietnam War veteran, PTSD. So he was fighting like in the war with the fire going on. 4 of the dogs didn't make it, 1 did, and the family's very shaken up over this whole thing. The thing is that I was very concerned because the father had been on life support and they had mentioned that he didn't have any brain activity. So it was concerning to me. I've been through a lot of that, but I understand that it's everyone's decision and the mother's decision, the wife's decision to make that call. And I was able to be on FaceTime with him, and his eyes were open. Still, I understood no brain activity. A lot of the smoke, a lot of the poisons has gotten into his body. And after I said the prayer with him and for him and the family in the room and the doctors, he closed his eyes. And my prayer was that he would be, that the Lord would take him home, that he would not be on the life support. 2 hours later, he passed away. So that was 2 o'clock in the morning after I'd gotten home from my son and daughter-in-laws that I've been estranged from for 7 years. And there was some prayer warriors here. The women's ministry here, I wrote a little note in there for a prayer. And a couple of days later, my daughter-in-law texted me and invited me to Christmas Eve. Still have a lot of bitterness. I'm praying that that will lift and that the armor of God, that some of the light will shine from my armor, my God's armor, through them, and their hearts will be less hardened. I texted my brother on Christmas Day, and he said, I said, Merry Christmas, and he said, it's not too merry here. My sister-in-law had a stroke that day, and she's 60. Her whole left, I guess one of the nurses had given her a shot, an injection, and something happened with her. And so they had to put her on life support, and he had to make that call to take her off life support. I haven't heard anything, but I will ask you for their prayers. However they know the Lord in their heart, it's just I don't see any fruits. They've never been to church. Their 3 children, adult children have never been to church. So I'm just praying that God, at this time, that they will begin to have God. Actually, I had spoken to my brother about God, and he said a bad word about God, and he didn't want anything to do with him. So I pray that you all would just send some prayers up for him and their family, that he'd open his heart and somehow he'd be able to receive something from the Lord that he's never has been able to, or has never given, has never received that from the Lord before. And his 3 adult sons will also begin some kind of new beginning through this tragedy, to be able to have the glory. God will be given the glory through all of this. And I just thank you for all your prayers. And you can Google Channel 3 Christmas Eve and see Donald Seifert. He's passed away a couple days ago. And Joyce is with my significant other. And the brother just got out of the hospital, and he was able to find some place to go. So there's a lot of needs. But thank you so much, and God bless you all, and Happy New Year.
Hi, I'm Margaret. I want to share a story. It happened this last summer. And one morning we woke up. My mother had phoned me. She lost mobility in her legs, called the paramedics, got her to the hospital. Several days later, we got the news it wasn't what we wanted to hear. She was diagnosed with a blood clot in her main aorta in her abdomen. Worst news you could get. Sat there alone, no family around, trying to figure out what to do. They give us 3 choices, and all of them were negative, not what I wanted to hear. So what better place to go? Reach out to my Facebook family here at Life Community, friends, put out the prayer chain, get it going. No doctor wanted to touch her because of her age. But then finally, a doctor stepped up, took the risk. Prayers are being answered, went in, did the surgery, and they got the clot flowing. I mean, it was doom and gloom. It was a horrible feeling. And today, on December 26th, she celebrated 88 years. So all hands to my mom, Gloria.
Hi, my name is Rich. As I continue down my path of faith, which was illuminated by the love and promise of Christ, which was pointed out to me by my wife, I am slowly but surely healing a broken relationship, which has been broken for probably 20 years with a close member of our family. And as I lean on the faith of Christ to move toward him, to let him know that we're there for him, mostly for me, this has been a 20-year struggle, but because of putting Christ in my heart, I base every decision in my life now on him, and he guides me to everything I do now, and that is leading me to heal this relationship with him. And we're making progress. And so I thank Jesus for that.
Ooh, there's a lot of you. My name is Donna, and in 2006, my daughter was murdered. I am the mother of Cindy that spoke earlier, and Tammy was murdered. She was murdered by a stranger in a gas station. He took $20 from her wallet and tried to pay for his gas. That afternoon, I was in her bedroom calling people so that they wouldn't hear the news on the news, that they would hear it from me. And it was kind of a cold, rainy morning. And I was not a churchgoer. Tammy had tried to get me to go to church, and I always said later, maybe when I'm retired and I have time, I'll go. So that morning, I was calling people, and I stopped. She had a high bed, and I was kind of leaning over her bed, and I felt a blanket come around me. Well, there was no one there but me. And the Holy Spirit, which is what I'm sure it was, covering me, warming me, telling me everything was going to be okay. And I came to church the next Sunday, and it was Bayside of West Roseville when we were at the school. And I've been here ever since. And the people of this church are what really helped to heal me, to love me and show me what God's love is, because I had no idea. I just thought you were a bunch of crazy people going to church. So here I am. I'm one of you. So God bless all of you and all of everyone. And I'm rambling.
We're glad you're one of the new crazies.
Hi, I'm Amy. This year, my family and I became foster parents for the first time. It's been really amazing and really hard also. The first child that we had, we only got to keep her for a week. She's 15, and within an hour of meeting her, I loved her like she was mine. And I got an email from her about 2 weeks ago saying, hey, it's me, her name. I'm getting baptized at Bayside Adventure in January. Will you come and watch and be there with me and celebrate with me? And it meant the world to me, because only getting her in our family for a week, I thought, she's not even going to remember us. We made no impact on her. You know, it was just, we were giving her foster family a break for a week while they went on vacation, but she got in touch with me, tracked me down, and said, I want you to come watch me be baptized. So that's just what I wanted to share.
Hi, my name is Matt, and 5 years ago I got diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia, which is unusual for a 40-year-old male, they told me. Matter of fact, we went to, this resulted in a year of chemotherapy and radiation because it had gotten into my brain cells, which is unusual. And then the bone marrow transplant, which happened at Stanford. And before we did the bone marrow transplant, we had to go about 2 months early and meet with the doctors there. And a very young doctor who hadn't taken his compassion class yet came in and sat down with my wife and I and said, well, this is a very dangerous procedure, and you have about a 10% chance of survival during the procedure. And we kind of looked at him like it was right after he said hello. So, and then he says, and then after the procedure, you have about a 10% chance of surviving the year. I looked at him again, I thought, I'm not a great mathematician, doesn't sound like very good odds. But like Han Solo says, never tell me the odds. But at that time, when he told us, that was my crisis of faith. I was angry, and I kind of gave up. But it was November, and kind of a sad Thanksgiving, and I was still angry. But we kept coming to church, and I came here for the Christmas service, and it changed everything. I renewed my faith. I was here in a prayer group after, just sobbing, and it gave me the strength to fight back. And I was in the hospital for 3 months straight, and a lot of times incoherent because of the graft disease, if you know what that is. It's a long story. But my best friend and a lot of the nurses said they would come in, and this is the time when I couldn't see, couldn't really move very much, and couldn't talk because my throat was clogged with its disease. And they said I was talking coherently to someone in the room and having conversations. And I don't remember any of this. But the more they describe it and the more I look back on it now, I know that it was God talking to me, getting me through the hardest times. So that was my experience with God. And 5 years later, I beat the 10% odds. So here I am. But I need your help again. My wife, who isn't here today, is having serious problems with her arthritis. She has paleoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. And she can't move right now. She can't get out of bed. It's really attacking her knees, and she's in constant pain. Probably worse than I was when I was sick, and I was getting a lot of attention and stuff. So to end this, I'm asking for you to give the prayers and hopefully the strength that was given to me, to my wife, to help her get through this. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fred. I became a Christian April 29th, 1992, around noontime, as a result of the witness of one of my colleagues at Pacific Legal Foundation. Prior to that, during college and graduate work at Davis, the People's Republic of Davis, I was very anti-God, anti-Jesus, anti-Bible, and I was vehement about it. But after my conversion in 1992, God really changed my heart. And I also learned that God has a sense of humor, because after my conversion, I ended up teaching the very word that I once criticized. And for about 8 or 9 years, I taught scripture at a church in Elk Grove as their adult Sunday school teacher. So the Lord does have a sense of humor. And also, I share the story with you because if you have any friends or family who are hardcore unbelievers, don't give up on your prayers for them, because I know someone was praying for me. And we will never convert anyone. All we can do is cast the seeds of the gospel, and then we water it with prayer. But God makes the increase. Okay, we will never change anyone, but God will. So don't give up on friends or family who are unbelievers. And the fact that I'm standing here talking to you is also a testimony to the work of God, because years ago I was petrified at public speaking. And now I can be in front of a large group like this, thousands. It doesn't bother me anymore. So again, God has a sense of humor, and he can change people. So anyway, if you have friends or family who are unbelievers, don't quit your prayers for them.
Thank you. You can come on up. We got time for about 2 or 3 more, so feel free to make your way up.
My name is Linda. Oh, I thought you said down here. You said not down here. Right. Oh, okay. My name is Linda, and I grew up in a Baptist church. I was baptized when I was 12 years old. My mother wanted me to wait till Jesus' age of 12 when he went to the temple. Anyway, and I did go to church through high school and I don't know, and through my adult years. I was in Bible study, but I never really knew I could have a personal relationship with Jesus. I don't know where I missed that, but I just didn't know that. When my daughter was in high school, my youngest daughter, she's 17, excuse me, and she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's disease. And so we went through the cancer thing with her. And when my son was 18, he was a couple of years older than she was, he was killed in an automobile accident. So those two things coming so close together made me mad at God. I thought, if this is how God takes care of his children, I want no part of it. And I was angry. So I didn't go to church for about 30 years. And when my husband and I retired and moved up here, I had a daughter here that lives in Roseville, and she was going to church. And she invited me one time to go to a Beth Moore Bible study where she was going. They were going to study Daniel. And she told me later how scared she was to invite me because she didn't know how I would respond. But I did go study Beth Moore's Daniel, and I found God again, or he found me. I found him. It was like I learned that you could have a personal relationship with God, and I learned how good he was. And I know after I went to church, after starting that Bible study, I'd go to church and cry. For probably 3 or 4 weeks, every time I went to church, I'd cry because I was home again. He brought me home, and it felt so good. So anyway, I've been in church since then, and I've not been mad at God anymore. And I never will be. That was really stupid.
I'm really nervous, but I really want to share this with you. I have lost my mom and my dad and 2 brothers within the last 6 years. And about a year ago, I got this devastating phone call from my daughter, who's only 40 years old and has 2 children, and her husband's away in Afghanistan. And she told me she had breast cancer. It was like the most devastating news I could ever hear. All I kept thinking was, not another one, God. Please don't take my daughter from me. She has 2 kids. Unfortunately, since her husband was gone, not unfortunately, but I had to stay with her and take care of the family, and it was really hard for me because I'm 65 years old, and I've not used to being around a lot of kids and stuff, and I lived in the house with them, and I took care of 2 kids, 3 cats, 2 dogs, a bird, and children that played different baseball games, football games, and had to be carted everywhere to different schools and stuff, and it became really hard for me, and I started having panic attacks and anxiety and everything, and had to go get mental health. And I didn't know how I was going to do all this by myself because her husband was gone and she was taking everything out on me, and it was just hard. Anyway, if it wasn't for Life Community Church and all of my friends and everybody here that prayed for me and prayed for my daughter, I don't think I would have ever gone through this today. God has blessed me in so many ways throughout all of this. I became closer to God, and I've seen so many blessings, even through all this tragicness. And I just wanted to thank all of you guys for being there for me, for my daughter. And we've been blessed because my daughter, Heather, her cancer is gone. She's had all her chemo, and she's healed. So I just wanted to take this time to thank all of you.
All right, one more. Or not. We're good. All right, last call. Going once. Oh, now we got 2 more. Oh, no, Michelle, you're up. You're coming. We got 2 more. All right, here we go. Yeah, right. Sorry.
No, I don't like public speaking, so I will be quick. I just felt really encouraged to share a little bit about my mom, who we lost this year. She was 86. Strong Christian, but the story really is that she lost her husband when she was 60, my dad, and they were comfortable. She was comfortable in retirement, but she didn't live for herself or for the travel or everything. She spent the next 26 years really listening to God and being a mentor to people in churches and community. And the story that really comes to mind is before she lost her husband, but all of her kids were out of the house. At church, she took a lady in who she met at Bible study who had just 1-year-old twins and a 4-year-old daughter, and her husband left her just out of the blue. And she was kind of disowned by her family, by her parents and everything. And my mom just got to know her and became kind of the surrogate grandmother just for a year before mom and dad got transferred. And 20 years later, that lady reached out through Facebook and said, "You probably don't remember me." I remembered her, so of course my mom remembered her. And she said, "You just don't know what it was to have somebody in my life. You showed me what a godly wife should be, and your husband showed me what a godly husband should be, and you taught me how to pray, and I wanted to let you know that things turned out okay. I found a godly husband. I work in a church office now in Texas, and I've raised 3 wonderful kids who all love the Lord." So just be present in other people's lives. You don't know what they're going on in them, but just lead by example and show them what God can do.
So I just had to share the miracle of my brother for this year. I think it was probably May that the Lord gave him a dream, and it flashed lack one, lack one, lack one. And he said, Michelle, I almost didn't write it down, but then I just decided this was too crazy of a dream. So he wrote down LAK1. And then come to find out, very shortly after the dream, that he had cancer, and he was given 40% odds of surviving. And so then he remembered his dream, and he approached a surgical friend in his Bible study, and he said, hey, by any chance, do you know what lack one means? And he said, Justin, I can't believe it. Doctors don't even know about this treatment yet. And so he hunted down this treatment. He received the treatment, and 6 months later, all that's left is scar tissue. Praise God.
Two things I want to say, but all I can think is wow. A couple quick thoughts as we wrap up. First is, this is a picture of what it means to be the people of God, to be in God's family together. We share our struggles and we share our joy. We pray for each other, we support each other, and we know that no matter what we go through, we're not alone because God is with us and He's put amazing people around us. Secondly, I want to speak to those of you who said, man, I wish I could be up there sharing my story, but God hasn't come through for me yet. For those of you who are saying, I'm still in the middle of it, I'm still in that struggle, what I want to share with you this morning is God's not done with you yet. And it's okay for you to be mad at God. It's okay for you to question God. It's okay for you to say, God, where are you? Because God is big enough to handle any question, any doubt, and any emotion that you can throw God's way. And my prayer for you is that next year, you'll be sharing your story. Maybe not in front of the whole congregation, but you'll be sharing with your friends, with your small group, with your coworkers. So as we go, we're going to transition into a time of worship. The band will come up. We're going to sing 2 more songs. Ushers will come forward. And as we give, know that every single dollar that you give goes to support the mission and ministry. As we wrap up our year, I want to say thank you so much for the generosity that you've done to support this ministry and to touch the countless lives that you've heard about. Ushers can go ahead and start collecting it. Last thing, I know I said 2, I just thought a third thing. Some of you have a story that you didn't share here. What I want to do is I want to encourage you to share that story in the car ride home, with your small group, with friends, with family. I want you to continue to share those stories so that God can receive the full glory that He's entitled to. So let's go ahead and continue to worship God through giving and through singing.